Huge news today for crypto. Wells Fargo, America's third largest bank, owns spot Bitcoin ETFs. This is per recent SEC filings. And according to the filings, Wells Fargo holds positions in Grayscale's spot Bitcoin ETF, ProShares Bitcoin Strategy Futures ETF, and shares in Bitcoin Depot Inc., making a notable entry into the Bitcoin market. And while all of them are nice, it's the Grayscale spot Bitcoin ETF that affects price, as Grayscale has to buy the actual Bitcoin. Maybe Wells Fargo is the reason we've officially started to see some days of net inflows into GBTC. Of course, it's very possible that Wells Fargo was buying before this. They could have been buying into the selling. Because the reason we're starting to see these disclosures is because May 15th is the deadline. May 15th is the date for 13F filings for Q1. They're required disclosures by institutions. This is the exact same reason that actually earlier this week, investment firm giant Susquehanna International Group revealed in an SEC filing that it now holds $1.8 billion in spot Bitcoin and other Bitcoin ETFs. Institutional investors are accumulating Bitcoin in bulk. And really the only thing bigger than having America's third largest bank now owning Bitcoin is that we now have number one. A few hours after Wells Fargo made the disclosures, America's largest bank, JP Morgan Chase, disclosed spot Bitcoin ETF holdings as well. This is breaking news. This is a huge change. And turns out, JP Morgan, the largest US bank, has been buying these Bitcoin ETFs, even while the CEO, Jamie Dimon, has been publicly hating on it.
I could care less what Bitcoin trades for, how it trades, why it trades, who trades it. If you're stupid enough to buy it, you'll pay the price for it one day. I've also told people that it can trade at $100,000 before it trades to zero. So tulip bulbs traded for $75,000 once, something like that. The only value of a Bitcoin is what the other guy will pay for it.
Let me ask you about Bitcoin, because that was another famous comment that you made, that it's a fraud. Now we see institutions...
Which I regret making. The blockchain is real. You can have crypto dollars and yen and stuff like that. ICOs, you gotta look at everyone individually. The Bitcoin, it was always to me, was what the governments are gonna feel about Bitcoin. It gets really big. And I just have a different opinion than people. I'm not interested that much in the subject at all.
I personally think that Bitcoin is worthless. But I don't want to be exposed to it. I don't care. It makes no difference to me.
And I've made my views perfectly clear about crypto tokens are like pet rocks. And there's people hyping this stuff up. That doesn't mean blockchain is not real.
Right.
That doesn't mean smart contracts won't be real or Web 3.0.
Bitcoin itself is a hyped up fraud. It's a pet rock.
You're back to that?
Yeah,
really?
Of course, yeah. How do you know it's going to stop at 21 million?
Because it's...
I've mentioned this to people
Satoshi...
too. Everyone says that. Well, maybe it's going to get to 21 million and Satoshi's picture is going to come up and laugh at you all.
Even at the beginning of this year, a few weeks after the Bitcoin spot ETFs came into existence, Jamie Dimon said this.
Number one, I don't care. So just please stop talking about this shit. And I don't know what he would say about blockchain versus currencies that do something versus Bitcoin that does nothing. And maybe that's not different than me. But, you know, this is what makes a market. People have opinions. This is the last time I'm ever going to state my opinion. I think there's a good chance that when we get to that 20 million Bitcoins,
they'll go to 42.
No, that Satoshi's going to come on there, laugh hysterically, go quiet, all Bitcoin's going to be erased. And I don't know why a crypto dollar would ever be something that, you know, a store of value would be worse than a crypto Bitcoin. So, you know, that's my view, and I may be wrong, and which I doubt.
But I predicted this. Subscribers of Altcoin Daily were ready for this, because what would Jamie Dimon do if he wanted to buy a lot of Bitcoin? Well, he would go on CNBC and trash it. He would say it's going to zero. The price would dip, and he would buy. That's not illegal. They FUD crypto in public and buy it in private. In fact, looking at the recent JP Morgan disclosures, we can see they own some of Fidelity's spot Bitcoin ETF, some of BlackRock's spot Bitcoin ETF, also Bitwise's spot Bitcoin ETF. But this is the most important part of today's video. Most other crypto channels won't share this with you. I will. I'll keep it real with you. If we look at how much Bitcoin JP Morgan Chase actually own through the ETFs, about $47,000 of Bitcoin Depot Inc., $25,000 of the Bitwise Bitcoin ETF, $2,000 of Bitwise, $1,000 of Fidelity, $2 of Grayscale, and then $445,000 plus $32,000 of iShares, that's BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF. And although this amount, the amount of money allocated to each ETF, seems a bit underwhelming compared to what other institutions are choosing to allocate to purchase Bitcoin, Bloomberg ETF analyst James Seifert breaks down the truth that JP Morgan and Susquehanna and others are just market makers and or APs. That stands for authorized participants for these ETF issuers. And JP Morgan's ownership isn't necessarily indicative of anything other than this is how many shares they had on the last day of March. Meaning they're just holding the Bitcoin. They're just redeeming the shares as authorized participants for BlackRock and others. And if you're making markets in these things, the number of shares held could swing heavily day to day. The 13F data is simply a snapshot of long positions held on the last day of March. 13Fs don't show shorts or derivatives, so we don't even have a full look at their true exposure on 3/31. So in all transparency, this does not make Jamie Dimon a hypocrite. Not this, not yet. As senior ETF analyst Eric Balchunas states, we'll probably see many of the big banks report some holdings in their role as market makers/APs. That is different from them buying for the exposure and thus less hypocritical in JPM's case. Again, other channels won't share this with you. I will. Click subscribe to join this revolution. But because of these disclosures that are due on May 15th, what is notable, in my opinion, is the sheer number of holders that each has so far. IBIT, that's BlackRock's, is up to 250. That's bonkers for the first quarter of the market. So looking at the data, BlackRock has 250 number of holders, Fidelity has 136, Bitwise has 60, ARK has 42, which doesn't seem that significant. But then here's the comparison of the other ETFs launched in the same weekish as the BTC ones. They have a lot of zeros and then a lot of ones and threes. And also, we still have like a week of 13Fs to roll in yet. And looking at altcoin news, Polkadot's dot price has fallen more than 20% in the last 30 days to $6.90 as of press time, but record-breaking user engagement on Polkadot. The network boasted around 650,000 active addresses on-chain at the end of April. DOT is undervalued now, according to analysts. We have XCAD launching their first creator token on actual exchanges. This has launched. Fan token platform XCAD has released its creator token launch for one of the biggest YouTubers in South America, the Donato YouTube. It appears to be a success. Don has had a very successful launch yesterday, even hitting 100x, a great win for the XCAD network. Excited for other creator launches after this one. I'm sure a lot more will follow in the near future. And obviously that return has subsided, as all launches do. And to me, I have no clue the long-term value of one person's creator token. I don't live in South America, but to me, it's just interesting that creators are launching fan tokens off of XCAD, and they're going on actual exchanges. That's wild. And that is the video. My name's Austin. Like always, see you tomorrow.